So in this video, I'm going to go through and do an example with you guys, show you how the calculator works to compute some measures of central tendency and some measures of dispersion and position. So just kind of talk about where they're at and how they work, and then we'll dive later into it. So probably won't go through this whole example, but just mainly showing you where things are on the calculator and how it works. So the first thing you want to do is you want to click on the Stat button. And then we want to actually type our data in. So notice we're on 1 under Edit. So I'm just going to go ahead and press Enter. And maybe you have some data typed in, maybe you don't. I kind of just do best practice is I just clear all my list before I come in. I've just kind of built that habit in. So I'm just going to go back and do second mode, and that'll quit out of that. And I always do second and then the plus sign. And then notice number 4 looks like it says clear all lists. So that's exactly what it does. So I'm going to do second plus 4 and then enter. So that'll clear out any list, any data that we have typed in. So I do that before I start a new problem every single time, which is a good habit to build. So sometimes you guys may go in and accidentally delete your list, and we'll talk about that. So let's go back and press Stat and then enter to edit our list. So notice I have no data values. So I'm going to go in and type in my data values. So I'm going to type in 23. And then just press enter to type in the next one, 36, 23, 18, 5, 26, and 43. So I typed in all of my data values. So now what I'm going to do is press second mode to quit out of that. I'm going to go back into the Stat menu and go over to Calc, because I want to perform some calculations, and I'm going to do one var stats, which is one variable statistics, and I'm going to press enter on that. And now what I want to do, I just kind of build this habit, is I want it to perform the one variable statistics on L1. So I'm going to hit second 1. So second is in blue. Notice above the 1 in blue it says L1. So that's going to call upon list 1. So now I'm going to press enter. Some of you guys may have newer calculators. If you do, when you hit one of our stats, it's going to pull up a sub menu that says list. So in list, you're going to put L1 by hitting second 1, and then you're going to scroll down. The next one says something that looks like it says frequency list. You want to clear out anything that's in there. So you don't want anything in frequency list. Then you're going to go down to calculate and press enter. Once you do, then you'll see the same thing that I have up on my screen. So what do those values mean? So I have some calculator instructions in Moodle that explains in detail what each of those values represent. So X bar is our mean. So the calculator will just say X bar. Remember that sample mean and population mean are calculated the same way. So that mean, X bar, is the population and the sample mean. That's the next thing in our menu is the sum of X. So that is just saying it's the total of our X values. The next one is the sum of all our X values squared. The next one is SX. That represents our sample. So remember, S was sample standard deviation. So SX in the calculator is sample standard deviation. Sigma X is population standard deviation. Notice those values are different. So if you remember, or you watched the video on the PowerPoint, I was telling you how the formula was slightly different. So you're going to get different values. N equals 7. So that tells us we typed in 7 data values. That down arrow means there's more, so I'm just going to keep pressing the down arrow on my calculator and just scroll all the way down so I can't go down anymore. So now it says min X, so that's going to tell me my minimum value is 5. Q1 to the first quartile is 18. Mid, so that's saying the median is 23. Q3 is 36, and then the maximum value there is 43. So basically the calculator's giving you a whole lot. So you'll notice the one thing it didn't give you is variance, and that's something that you'll have to compute. So I'm just going to scroll back up in my list there. So let's get back to our problem here. So we're asked to find the mean. So we're looking at all 7 employees. So we're looking at the population. So I'm going to use sigma. So get yourself, not sigma, sorry, mu. So get yourself in the habit of using those symbols. Let me redraw this out. It didn't look too good. So we're going to write down mu. And I'm going to round this. So I'm going to use approximately equal to 24.8. It's around 2 decimal places. 86. And then our median, so if we go back over here to our list, scroll down, our median is 23, so remember we use M for that. So M is 23, and that's an exact value. Mode isn't in the calculator either, so remember mode is the value that occurs the most. So if we look, we see that that is 23, so our mode here is 23. And the range is R. So that's our smallest value minus, our largest value minus the smallest value. So I can use my calculator to help me with that. So the max is 43. So I'm going to do 43 minus the min, which is 5. So when I do 43 minus 5, I get 38. Then the population standard deviation. So I'm looking at population standard deviation. So I'm looking for sigma. So that is approximately, let's scroll back up in our menu here. 11.36. And a population variance. Here's where you want to be careful. So we rounded our population standard deviation. But for variance, remember that standard deviation squared, we don't want to round to compute that. So I'm going to use the whole thing to do this. So 11.3569182 squared. So I'm going to square that whole thing. So let's type that in our calculator here and see what we get. So 11.3569182, and then I'm going to hit the square button right here, diagonally up from the 7, and then press enter, and then I can round that value. So 128.98. So a little bit difficult to do. There's another way to do that instead of writing that whole value down. What we can do is that we can press the vars button, and then 5 pulls up the statistics menu, and then we can go down to our sigma x, and that'll call on sigma x that we have in the calculator, and then hit the squared button. And notice we get the same answer a little bit off because it stores the whole value that's in there. So that's the way to calculate those values that are in there. So just to show you one other way to clear out your list, so let's go ahead and clear that out to get ourselves ready for the next problem. So I'm going to go back into the stat menu, press enter for edit. So what you want to do is you want to come up to L1, and you're going to press clear, and that'll clear your list. So press clear and then enter. You'll never press the delete button while you're up in a list. So keep that in mind. You're always going to press clear. So you can either do second plus 4, enter to clear all your lists. So that's kind of the habit I built to avoid deleting my list. So if you do delete your list, you just want to reset your calculator memory. May cause a problem in chapter 4, but not that big of a deal. Or you can just go in and clear the list that way. So that's kind of the habit that I've built to avoid deleting a whole entire list. If you delete L1, no big deal. Just use L2, L3, etc. So you'll notice second 2 will give you L2, second 3, L3, second 4, L4, second 5, L5, second 6, L6. So you have quite a bit of list in there to choose from. So if you do accidentally delete one, just keep that in mind. So you want to go up to the list and press clear, not delete. But again, good practice is to do second plus, that'll get you into the memory menu, and then 4 to get you to clear all lists, and then enter is the best way to do that when you're starting a problem. So it kind of starts off the basic example, and then we'll dive into these more later on, and then I'll show you guys how to also use StatCrunch. So you've probably seen that on some of the problems before to calculate these values.